So, LARP stories from this month, March 2019, at Zenithstrand, Underworld LARP Zenithstrand. I was playing as Aeryn, my spooky Gen Vespin shaman, world wild elf witch, basically. Um, and it was a very eventful game. So this was a game where Siobhan, my partner, played her character Iman, who is also Aeryn's partner, basically, and the Weaver of Sybil. And she's back from plot. This is her first game back playing Iman after a couple of months, so we hadn't seen her in a while. But our Friday night started off with a pretty big bang. So Aeryn has been basically trapped inside this soul gem for a while. And she's been using an alchemical homunculus body to, like, function on the outside world because her real self is trapped in the gem. So I wanted to identify the gem so that we could, like, figure out if it had any activation phrases or a way to open it or anything like that. And I had forgotten that I have the mage power to identify magic items. Like, I'm a mage. I have that power, you know? It's my first occupational ability. But it had just slipped my mind that I could do that. So, the start of game, this game, I did it. I used my identification power and checked out what the gem actually does. What I got was that it is a corrupted version of a draconic ritual called Soul Egg, which is a level 6 draconic ritual that basically, like, prevents a person from dying by using it as, like, a minor phylactery, like, once. But it's a corrupted version in that it's made to be a prison, not to let you out and let you go on your way. That's what I found out about it. So there's no way to get out of it without a lot of help. But we know that a demon named Greed did manage to get out of it when somebody touched it. So there is a way, it's just that we don't have access to that way. So that was something to log away for a little later in my day. And so I did. And then there's the whole other problem of Ilias, who is a Gen Ursa, like a bear tribe wild elf, who currently has Iman's shard in him. And now a shard is like part of the elven soul in this setting. And Iman used to be a high elf, so she's been looking for her shard because she's a wood fairy at the moment. She's been looking for her shard because it like asked for help, right? And it turns out that Ilias has it inside of him along with his own at this point because of some stuff that went down. And so the first thing we have to deal with is that, obviously. Like, Iman needs to speak to Ilias and figure out how they're going to get the shard out of Ilias and into Iman. Is the plan. Because, you know, she wants that part of her soul back. So they privately talk for a while. They're off talking, you know, privately about that. Because it doesn't have anything to do with any of the rest of us. But then eventually it culminates and they're like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to use Ilias's bear spirit because he's part of Iman's, like, shamanic braid. Because Iman is a shaman as in the actual class. And people are, like, connected to her via these, like totems, basically. And Ilias's is a bear. And the way to have someone leave the braid is to eat their heart. You have to eat their heart, and then the spirit comes back to you. So Iman goes, all right, so what I'm going to do, Ilias, is I'm going to eat your heart and take the bear spirit back, and hopefully the bear spirit will bring my shard along with it, and then everything will be cool. And Ilias is like, you have to make sure I don't actually die, though. She's like, okay, cool. Yeah, no, we can do that. No problem. But I'm going to eat your heart, okay? And Ilias is like, sure. So we got set up for this sort of, like, ritual, I guess. And Iman does what she says. She opens up his chest and eats his heart. And then Tammy, the Shaper who's watching, calls a hold, and takes him on outside and talks to her about like what's gonna happen here. And then sends her back inside, and Ilias immediately wakes up, and Iman falls unconscious. Right? So Ilias wakes up, and he's like alive, and Iman falls to the ground. And we don't have anybody who can check if she's like really, really hurt here. So we were like looking around for somebody to like check her body, you know, like we used some healing, nothing happened. Ilias is fine, so that doesn't matter, but we're trying to make sure that Iman's gonna be okay. And eventually we get one of the healers, Dante, I think his name is, to come and check him, or to come and check her, right? And he checks her, and it's like, are you in your bleed count? No. Are you in your death count? No. Are you sleeping? No. Are you unconscious? No. Are you poisoned? No. And eventually, Siobhan has to sit up and be like, there's another thing you can ask. And he goes, oh, are you a finaled corpse? She's like, yeah. So, what that means is basically like, she's dead. Like 100% dead. This body is super dead. Like all the way dead. There is no going through the resurrection circle. She is dead. And you know, immediately after getting that news, Aeryn is like, everybody leave. Everybody out that's not Gen. If you are not Gen Vestment, get the fuck out of here. You know, like, and I'm trying to think, like, how could this happen? Like, how could Iman be dead? And Aeryn is like freaking out. My character is like, I'm freaking out, because she's super important to me, obviously, and like, if she's dead, that's a problem. And Victor like hears this from his side of the bed. Victor's a human now Weaver of Erasmus, Dark Weaver of Erasmus, the god of greed, who like works with us a lot. And he perks up and he's like, wait, Iman's dead? Who do we have to kill for this? And I'm like, wait, no one yet. And I turn to Ilias and I'm like, Ilias, what exactly happened? Exactly. And he's like, well, I told the bear spirit to take the shard to Iman, and then I got a cleansing light effect, and I woke up and I was alive. I'm like, that's everything? That is everything that you have? And he's like, yes, shaman, it is. And I'm like, fine. This is not your fault. Iman knew the risks. She knew what she was doing. She knew it was dangerous. I am not going to hurt you, you know? And then I'm looking around, and Helene had already started organizing people. He's like, Skull, Hati, you guys go to the red circle, and you make sure that if anything happens over there, you come back to us. We're gonna wait with the body for a bit. I'll go between them. Like, I'm busy freaking out, and my sort of like lieutenant is already organizing things for me, if you know what I mean. And I'm like, yeah, good, it's perfect. Do that. And I'm pacing and talking to myself, and I say, like, before everybody leaves, I say, if it's been an hour and we don't know anything else, I'm going to start asking the difficult questions to the difficult people. She is not going to die. I am going to make sure that she doesn't die. You know, like, I'm going to ask demons about how to bring a loved one back from final death. You know, it's like some of that heavy shit, you know? And so anyway, I'm like pacing and talking to myself and trying to figure out what's going on, and it's like 30 minutes of emotional anguish. I can't adequately express how like into my character headspace I was, that I was like I was very upset. And I walked outside to like get some air at one point, and Adeline was like on our porch. Adeline's a high elf that worships a gold dragon and cults us off, and she is always sticking her nose in when there's anything interesting going on. and it was not the time to be on my porch. I was not ready for guests or explaining what had happened. Um, and I came out and I saw her there, and I'm like, "You are not welcome here. Your assistance is not required. You should leave now." And basically, like a little bit more intensely than that, obviously. But she sort of like left the balcony, and I yelled at her up the pathway, and she's like, "Shaman, I can't get by you. I need to go past you." Like, she wouldn't walk around me because she didn't want to get hurt, basically. So I had to like step aside and let her go, basically. But she went when I told her, which is nice. Aeryn was not in the mood for explaining things at that point. Though usually she's a lot calmer. So nothing's happening, and I'm starting to get worried. I'm gonna have to ask the difficult questions, and sell my soul or something. And then a bear comes wandering, like a spirit bear. I don't know if it's a spirit bear, but it was a bear. It comes wandering like down the path towards our cabin, being led by all these like Gen Vespin, who were at the Res Circle. I'm like, where did this bear come from? And they're like, it came from the Resurrection Circle. And I said, well, if it came from the Resurrection Circle and it's a bear, then if Iman had the bear spirit, then she must be in the Resurrection Circle, or at least somewhere close by. So she must be okay. If the bear can come from somewhere, that means that Iman is still around somewhere. And, I lead the bear to Iman's old body. Bad call. Wasn't the right answer. But then we found Ilias, and Ilias fought the bear and, like, absorbed it back into himself. And immediately we were like, go to the Resurrection Circle now. And we ran off to the Resurrection Circle. And there's a spirit there in the Resurrection Circle. And none of us can see spirits, but in a Resurrection Circle, you can see a vague outline of a spirit. And the Shaper on duty says that we can't recognize the spirit, but that it looks like the spirit of a wild elf. And we're staring, and we're trying to figure it out. And, like, Iman has absorbed a shard. That shard was in Ilias. Shards are only for elves, so maybe it's her. It could be her. It has to be her. And, like, Aeryn is, like, praying that it's her. And eventually she does, like, resurrect, and it is her. And she's very weak and confused and what have you. But the markings on her face, because she's a wild elf now. Her horns are gone. And the markings on her face are the markings of the bear tribe, which are like these big claw prints, sort of like this. Because Ilias was bear tribe. And Ilias had that shard inside of him. So of course she would be bear tribe. Just because of the, like, relation, right? When she comes through the Resurrection Circle. And of course, I'm not cool with that. But that's a talk for another time, right? She's weak and like having trouble and very confused, and she doesn't know what's going on, and she's just been through like a traumatic reincarnation. So now's not the time for me to like talk about that sort of stuff. And we pick her up and we bring her back to the cabin and make sure that she's all right and get her sorted and all that sort of thing, Yeah. It was pretty heavy. It was a pretty heavy evening. And on top of that, during all of this, occasionally Carson, one of the Shapers, would come up to me and be like, "Your hand is numb, just completely numb. Left hand, completely numb. And then like leave." Which is what I figure is him basically saying, like, the alchemical body you are using to sustain yourself is aging, is expiring, stuff like that. I would get prompts like that all the time, or he'd come up during the weekend and be like, penetrating body hamstring, left leg, and then I'd be limping for the next however long because I can't heal it because it's not healable. Or at one point I got my leg like dismembered, which is just like it like sloughs off and like dissipates into goo. You know, like bad shit like that was happening to me like all weekend, and it was like, we have to solve the soul gem issue, or I'm gonna decay into nothing. But anyway, Friday night. I think that was most of our Friday night. I don't remember specifically there being like anything else that was huge or requiring attention. I met Hati for the first time, which is Wyatt's new gen Vespin. Skull's brother, Hati and Skull, obviously. And I met Hati for the first time, and you know, we had a conversation about loyalty and that sort of stuff. But we got along pretty well. It was pretty easy to like get along with Hati. During this game, I had 3 people under blood curses. So Ryan's character Angeline is like pretty much always under a blood curse from me, which means that any spell that I cast at him, I can cast as penetrating, or not as penetrating, but I can echo it so that any defenses are used up, but the spell still works. And we do that because he could at any point come under the control of some other creature, and he doesn't want to betray me, basically. So me being able to put him down is part of the plan. I also had Hati under a blood curse because he offered me his blood as like a loyalty thing, and I used it immediately to blood curse him because that's how I show my loyalty back. Like, make sure that you'll never be able to betray me. And Ilias was under a blood curse, which, I mean, he let me do it. I didn't think he would, but he did. So Ilias, the Bear Tribe Wild Elf, was under a blood curse as well, because he was talking about being possessed. And I am not about that. So I made sure that if he did get possessed or was otherwise outside of his faculties, I could deal with it. That's the, you know, so that's fun. I got to blood curse a bunch of people this game. I don't usually get to blood curse that many people. It's pretty nice. So, that happened Friday night, and then we went to bed. It was nice to have Iman back in bed with Aeryn. It's been weird sort of having them apart, and it's nice that they're back together. And her being a wild elf, I don't get poked by like horns or anything anymore, which is nice, you know. It's a side benefit of that. The next day, we had rituals to do. So Saturday morning, we were gathering all the goods we needed for rituals. And this was a lot of trading and a lot of like bartering and a lot of manipulating, you know, talking to merchants about splitting large items into smaller items and that kind of stuff. Like a lot of money changing hands and like doing that kind of stuff. And that's not usually my field of like expertise. I am a bargainer, but I am a witch. I am a bargainer in the metaphysical, not a bargainer of money and coin and valuables. And our tribe is not very good at that. So that's why we have Victor. Victor is a Darkweaver of Erasmus, which is the god of greed. So he gets lots of stuff from us for almost nothing, and then occasionally the bill comes due and he has to pay up and help us gather resources, basically. And that's kind of how it works. So we're working on gathering the things we needed for rituals, and then we did some rituals, light rituals. We did the light circle, and then relic weapon. So relic weapon is or like divine relic is like a ritual that allows Iman to replace her regular relic spell with a divine relic spell. And the divine relic spell does a ridiculous amount of things. When you put a divine relic spell on a person's weapon, that person gets +5 strength, +1 damage aura, 3 spell strike light bolts through the weapon, and what else? The weapon is invincible and soulbound while it is divine relict. So basically, the ritual version of Relic is super good, and it upgrades the power of like a group by a massive amount when you can just go Divine Relic, Divine Relic, Divine Relic, Divine Relic, give them to all your fighters, and then send them off because they've all got like at least an extra 3 damage, 3 light bolts. You know, like they're ready to go. You know, and it may not sound like a whole lot, but it matters. And immediately after we got these powers, there was like a call to go and destroy some orc pirate ship or something. I don't really know exactly what was going on, but everybody was chomping at the bit to go and like fuck shit up, with their new powers. So I kind of let them. I didn't want to get in the way, and I was tired as shit because standing around doing rituals for a bunch of time is actually really exhausting. Even though it sounds easy, it's like you got to make sure you follow the directions. There's a lot of stress involved in like making sure you succeed. Like you don't want to do anything wrong. You gotta like it's very precise. Because the shaper watching you will like punish you for doing it wrong, basically. But we succeeded in those rituals, so we got that stuff done. And I'm trying to think if there was anything else. Oh, important note, Friday night. Sorry, flashback to Friday night for a second. We're walking down the path and we come across a body. It is the body of Dane, this like gold dragon following knight, and he's just like lying in the street, basically right outside a cabin, like 100% most trafficked area. And we're just walking past, and I look, and I say to Angeline, I'm like, go get a healer for this man, like he's dying, And Angeline looks at me and he goes, no, he's on my list. And then I just shrug and we walk away. Apparently he went through the resurrection circle after that. Like he died. After that, like nobody got to him to life him, so he went through the resurrection circle and came back. So he didn't die forever, but he did go through the resurrection circle. Because we didn't help, I guess. But apparently a bunch of his friends, he was saying out of game, a bunch of his friends walked by and they didn't even see him. So I don't feel that bad. Anyway, back to Saturday. There's a pirate ship full of orcs that needs smashing, and we've just gotten a huge power boost. Everybody goes to smash a pirate ship full of orcs. I stay behind. I can't remember exactly why. I think I was talking to Tamaru and Victor. So Tamaru had helped us with the rituals. He's a fire elementalist mage. And I've been trying to convince Tamaru to let me make a demon deal for him. Let me talk to my patron and learn something for him, because he's the kind of wizard who like wants to know the secrets of magic and the universe, So I'm trying to work him into making a deal. And there was a lot of talk. There's a lot of talk about how you shouldn't ask for the answers to the questions, because the answers to the questions will drive you mad. What you need are the threads to pull on to begin to answer the questions yourself. Find me a thread that you want to pull on, and I can give it to you. I can give it to you. All it'll cost you is your true name or parts of your true name, and I can get you a thread to pull on that might lead to some very interesting answers to your questions. And like me and Victor were talking like the because he's a Weaver of Erasmus and I'm a witch. We're both the Lord and Lady of bargaining, but from different perspectives. So us two sort of like talking and like working this wizard who's been helping us into like making a deal, was really fun. The two of us together, I really enjoyed it. Our like combined assault, as it were. He didn't end up taking my bait, but he definitely is like thinking about it, which is all I can ask at this point. If you're thinking about it and you come up with something and you have no other way to get it other than to come to me, that's what I want, Come to me, let me bargain your true name away to my patron, and let me get you a knowledge thread to pull on. Because I could just get the answer to the question of, like, what is the the answer to life, the universe, and everything, as it were. Because my patron is the demon of forbidden knowledge. They know everything that has been forgotten. They are the dreamer. They sleep eternal, because of what they know, like that sort of stuff. And people who seek that knowledge go insane. So it's like, I could get you the answer, but you probably wouldn't like it. So you should find the answer yourself. That kind of stuff. So it was fun to do that. Have that interaction. So they killed the pirate ship full of orcs. That only took like as much time as it did to talk to Tamara with Victor. And then there was something about some undead. We were getting rallied to like kill some undead. And of course, like, we're all about that kind of thing. But between that, I think we changed Iman's markings. I don't know exactly when this happened, but like, once she was okay and we had all the Gen Vespin that were there around, I did the flaying ceremony, as it is called, the rite of the flayed, and we stripped the Gen Ursa markings off of her face and replaced them with Gen Vespin markings. So Iman is fully a Gen Vespin wild elf now, which is the Wasp tribe wild elves. It's the same that Aeryn is. So they are the same now, which is it's so nice. It's good, and I think she's been seeing the perceptive difference of like being a Gen Vespin rather than Gen Vespin adjacent, as it were, through her interactions with the whole group, which has been very interesting. I can't speak on it because it's not my thing, but she's been saying it's been interesting. So then there was some undead to kill. So we went to go kill some undead. It was a tougher fight than we anticipated, and people were not gathered enough to deal with it. We got told that we had to defend the root of Koa, or of Koa's Grove or something. And Koa is like the center of the island of Zenithstrand, the setting. It is like a sacred, natural place that need to be defended, you know? And this was like underground, and the roots of Koa were being attacked by the undead. So, of course we're going to defend it, like we're wild elves, you know? And on top of that, Sybil, who is the goddess of the hunt, is also like a protector of nature. So, you know, we're gonna defend it. But we got told to defend the root. And when we came into the fight, the root is on the other side of the room, right? And the undead are all clustered around it. And so our first instinct, of course, is, well, we have to defend the root, not defend this fucking doorway that we've just come in through. So we like get over towards the root and fight over there. But apparently nobody else had this fucking idea. Everybody's clustered by the goddamn doorway because these undead are strong. They are strong. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This was a very dangerous setup. These were like, we were going in expecting some ghouls. What we got were like death rogues and death knights and like a necromancer and like some greater ghouls and like that kind of stuff. It was bad. It was a bad time, you know. They were big and strong, and they would fuck us up hard. And for us, that means like, yeah, bring it on. Like for our group, like let's fight. Let's see if we can do it, you know. But for everybody else, that basically meant, oh, I'm not sure if I can do this, and they all like hung back a little bit. And I mean, people were getting crowd controlled with like paralyzes and like people were getting decapitated off the bat. Like it was bad. Like it was bad. Let's just put it that way. But we made it to the other side of the room, and we're defending this route, and my people are slowly like dropping, like as like bad stuff is happening to them, and I'm trying to heal them because I have that power, the power of my demon, to grant them a dark pact and get up, you know. And I'm doing this, but not everyone on my side of the room is gonna take a dark pact. Some of them are on Sybil pathways to be paladins. Some of them are clerics of Sybil, Iman herself, you know, like, and they're not gonna take any influence from my demon. so I can keep some people alive, but other people, like, they won't take my power, you know? I use it, and they're like, no, I reject the deal. I'm like, fuck! Because when you take a Dark Pact, you have to give me a letter of your true name. So it's one of those things where it's like, do you allow witchcraft to bring you back and give me a letter of your true name? Or do you stay lying on the ground, you know? And so I'm struggling. I'm like yelling over the other side of the room, like, the root is over here! Get over here and defend the root! You know, like that kind of shit, like being as vocal as possible. And some people come running, like our people come running, you know, like Hope, who is this wood fae healer, comes running and she checks, you know, and she doesn't have a life spell, so she can't bring Skull back, who's like dying. And Umaga died like a little further in, and he's already been raised as a zombie and like sent in the other direction, so I can't get to him. It was a clusterfuck, and we had to hold it for like 15 minutes. I was sure we were all gonna die. I was sure I was gonna die. I was on my last legs, and then I squared off against this death rogue, right? And I've got my psionic blade, and this death rogue goes on guard 10, which means it's gonna get plus 10 to its hits against me. And I'm like, well, fuck, you know? And as he comes in, I go, Spell Strike Race Change Toad on the death rogue, and he's like, dodge? No, I use them all. And then he just, Toad. Then I step on the frog, and I was like, oh god, if he had any resists, I was fucked. If he could stop me in any way, there's no way I was gonna be able to survive that. Like, it was a huge clusterfuck. It was just like this massive mess. It was a mess. And so Skull and Umaga both end up going through the resurrection circle. We hold the line, but 2 of our people die, right? And needless to say, Aeryn was not happy about that. There was also something to do with the root. Iman got like some vine that grew around her arm, and like Lucian got some vine that grew around his arm, and there's like something to do with Koa's root that like happened. But I wasn't focused on that. I was focused on my dead people, right? And I was not happy. A bunch of people went to the resurrection circle. We're standing around, we're waiting. And when I say we, I mean like the mod, like everybody who was, not everybody who was there, but a lot of people who were there. And I give it to them while we're waiting for somebody to resurrect in the circle. Like, Umaga's resurrecting, and I am angry. You know, I go on like a fucking tirade. Like, Aeryn has never been so vocal. Ever. In her entire career has she ever been this vocal. And she's like, you're all fucking cowards. The objective was over there. We had to defend the route. You all hugged the fucking door. People who wanted to get in couldn't because of your goddamn, like, because of your inability to fight. If you can't fight, if you can't be there, if you can't hold that fucking line, then what are you even doing there? You know? Like, get out of the way for people who can. Like, all that sort of stuff. I went on for like 10 minutes. I was angry. And I was just waiting. I was just waiting for somebody to talk back. I was just waiting for somebody to say, like, oh, we tried our best, or like some shit, right? Just waiting. Yeah. It was emotional. It was an emotional moment, like, in game for Aeryn. Like, she doesn't like losing people. Her people are loyal to her. Her people trust her to keep them safe. And she trusts them to keep her safe. And when they die, that's on her. You know, like, in her head. That when they die, that's on her. So, anyway, the spirits resurrect back in the Sybil circle that we set up, the light circle, because nobody was actually helping them resurrect in the regular circle, so it was taking an hour. So we sent them to the Sybil circle where we can help them resurrect in 10 minutes. You know, so we got our people back, we got them their stuff back, but it was a little demoralizing in terms of like our people died because other people sucked. was what Aeryn was saying. What really happened was we were like massively out of position in terms of like we were over by the route where the fight was supposed to be happening and everybody else was elsewhere. So like we got a lot of hate when we didn't need to. But in terms of in game, like I felt like I was justified. Maybe out of game I wasn't, but in game I felt justified. Then Greed started fucking with us. The Demon of Greed, like sometime after that, Greed tried to give a gift to Hati, a magical staff. But of course, Hati can't read the note, so he gave it to Skull, and Skull touched it, and Skull's eyes glowed green, and all this other stuff that I had already resolved, like before, from Greed. And so I went, hey, Greed. And we went to Plot Camp, and I was like, hey, Greed, you broke the deal. Look, I told you could never touch Skull with magic. You couldn't let him hear your voice or anything ever again. And look, and, you know, Skull's got the staff, and it's soulbound to him, and he's got his eyes glowing green. And I'm like, no good. You broke the deal. What are you going to do to make it right? And he's like, you're right, I broke the deal. Snaps his fingers, and whoosh, staff hops to Hati, and now Hati's eyes are glowing green, and Skull is fine. The glowing green eyes is bad because it's a super demonic thing, and also it means that Greed can see through his eyes, and anything that he's seeing, Greed can see, which I'm not about. I don't want Greed spying on me. So I'm like, that's no good. You have to destroy the staff, you know. And I wasn't thinking, and he was like, done. Staff gets destroyed, ash, but the glowing green eyes are still there. And I'm like, fuck, that was my bad. And I said, we need to talk about what I can offer you in return for getting rid of this Greed. You shouldn't be messing with me, and I'd like that we could work together, but here you are screwing with me for absolutely no reason. And when I say screwing with me, I mean you are in fact screwing with my people, and my people are an extension of myself. They serve me, and I serve my patron, so therefore, you know. And Greed's like, okay, let's set up a meeting. I want to talk face to face rather than all this fucking, you know, all this fucking blabbing back and forth psychically. Tell you what, I'll turn off the enchantment until this evening, and I'll come visit you this evening, okay? I'm like, done. We'll talk about it then. He's like, cool. Turns the enchantment off, and like I've set a date with Greed to have a talk. Of course, the first thing I do is I go to my patron right after that. My patron is Nalstramus, which is like the demon prince of forbidden knowledge. But I have to have a go-between because Nalstramus is like globally important. So you got to have global permission to do anything with Nalstramus. Whereas my go-between for my patron, Pride, is basically like my demon lawyer. You know, they represent Nalstramus in all things, in all things Zenithstrand, as it were. So I go to talk to Pride. I use my communication idol, and I contact Pride, and I say, hey, Pride. Hey, Pride. Greed is fucking with me. Let's talk. Pride's like, what do you want to talk about? I'm like, well, Greed has enchanted one of my people, and in doing so is screwing with me, which means he's screwing with you, because I serve you, and my people serve me. So by extension, he's fucking with you. He's messing with things that belong to you, you know? And I know you don't like that. Pride's like, no, I don't like that. You're right. So what do we do to fix it? And so what do we do to fix it? Well, if I have more sway over this person than Greed, then the enchantment will be under my purview, and I'll be able to turn it off. So, give me one true name letter from this person. Just one. Just tiny. Nothing. And I'll fix it. And I went, easy. Done. Consider it done. I have something else to talk to you about, though. And she says, oh? I say, I have a soul gem issue. She's like, oh, you still have that. Well. I'm like, I am trapped in it. I need to be out of it. Do you know a way out of it? Well, Greed got out of it. You know that much. Yes, but I'm not a demon. I don't have 1,000 years to figure out a way out. She says, well, I have a plan for that. What if we make a bargain? I know how to get you out, but it's going to require a demon go in. So, I've heard tell that they're going to be going after one of my generals. His name is Idris. I don't want Idris to die. And they're going after him with the power of the elemental lords. They're going to hell to kill him. And if he dies in hell, he dies forever. I need him. So what I want you to do is to swap places with him in the soul jet. I will let Idris know that he should let himself be absorbed into the gem when you touch him. And you will bring Idris in the gem back to me so that he is not destroyed, so that I have him for later. Seems like a perfect deal. And of course, once he goes into the gem, you'll be free from the gem. So, seems fair, right? I'm like, very fair, Pride, very fair. Deal, bargain. And we make that deal. She's like, I'll let him know. So I'm basically playing like Demon Rescue Party at this point, where it's like, everybody else is going into hell to kill Idris. I'm going into hell to extract Idris from a bad situation and bring him back to his master. You know? Of course, I don't tell anybody that. I say, like, I have a way to deal with Idris, and then I do it. But, yeah. What else happened Saturday afternoon? Well, I had the meeting with Greed. So, Greed showed up in the evening and was like, I have an appointment with Aeryn. People were like, Aeryn, you have an appointment. I'm like, all right. So I get up and I go outside and there's Greed. And I say, can we talk somewhere more private? He's like, I'll give you a lift if you want. And touches my shoulder and goes, Infernal Walk 1, Infernal Walk 2, Infernal Walk 3, and poof, we're away in infernal, we stride through hell to a private location out in the woods. And we sit down, and Greed says, so, I've been thinking about what you were offering me. I've been thinking about that true name that you were offering me. And I'd be willing to let the enchantment go in exchange for the true name and some other, and he keeps talking, and I go, I'm gonna stop you right there, Greed. Just right there. See, you have no leverage. Pride has already solved my problem. My patron has already been on this, and she asked me to send you a message, and that message is, these ones are already spoken for, get your own. So, unless you have anything else to offer me, separate from the blackmail that you were relying on, I guess meeting adjourned. And I was so happy that I got to say this, because there is nothing that feels better than getting one over on a demon and being like, oh, look at that, you're off balance, I already fucked you over. So we sit there, and Greed says, fair enough, but here's what I can offer you for that true name instead, right? It's good bargain, terms of the deal, You give me that true name that you have, that full true name that you're keeping in your back pocket, you give it to me, and I will promise, let's say 10 of your people. You can write down the names and give it to me later. But 10 of your people will be safe from my power forever. I will not touch them. I will not magically influence them. They will not hear my voice. I will stay away from them forever. 10 of your people. And I say, you will do that unless I call you. And he says, fair enough. I will do those things unless you call me. And if you call me, then we can talk. But until you call me, I will not touch 10 of your people. You just give me the true name. And I went, seems like a pretty good deal, Greed. He's like, no hard feelings. I screwed you over. You screwed me over. I think we can part as friends, as it were. So I wanted to offer you something reasonable, for all of this. And I went, okay. Here's what I have for you. And I gave him 10 names, and I gave him the true name that he wanted. And he says, you won't hear from me anytime soon. And then there he goes. We made a bargain, and he let me infernal walk back to my cabin. So I got to do that cool thing where I appear out of appear out of a puff of unholy fire, which is always fun. And I finished that bargain. So my people are safe from greed. Pride's made the deal to swap Idris into the gem. Everything's going according to plan. So we go to hell through an elemental portal to. We go to hell through an elemental portal to get Idris dead. And I've explained to everybody around that I can deal with Idris. It's just that everybody else has to deal with everything else. And they're like, okay, cool. Like, wait, you have a way to deal with him? That's great. And so we go into hell, and I square off against Idris immediately. That was my first move. And the first thing he does is throw a magic death in my face. And I go, shield magic. And I go, that's against our deal, Idris. Didn't we make a deal a long time ago that neither of us would ever hurt the other? And he says, we did make that bargain, but bargains aren't worth much when you're not in your own mind. And I went, fair. And then we started fighting, because I tried to get him with the soul gem, and he's like, no. And I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to have to weaken him because he's not in his own mind. Like, he hasn't processed that this bargain is happening, so it's time to fight. And then fight we did. It was a scrap, man. It was a scrap. Idris is strong. But so we fought, and eventually he was down in a corner, like paralyzed or unconscious or something. And I ran over to him, and I touched him with the soul gem, and I was like, how about now? And he into the soul gem, And as he comes into the soul gem, so does my real body flop out of the soul gem, and I am once again the real Aeryn with this soul gem full of demon. Which means that I'm not decaying anymore, which is nice. And then we get out of there. We elemental walk out of there as fast as possible using the elemental portal. And of course, the first thing I do is I have to finish my bargain, and I take the gem to Pride. I use the communication idol, and I was like, how do you want me to... Because I was talking to the Shaper, and I was saying, how do you want me to get this to Pride? Are we going to meet in person, or what? She's like, do you have the communication idol? And I'm like, I do. And the communication idol is like a skeletal hand, right? Kind of like this. And she says, you put the gem into the hand of the idol, and the idol closes its fingers over the gem, and then opens them, and there's nothing in the hand anymore. I was like, that's so cool. That's so cool. And Pride's happy, and she tells you did a good job, that kind of stuff. And we head back in the game. By this time, I am incredibly exhausted. I have had like 3 hours of sleep the first Friday night, and I am dead tired. I have been emotionally drained by Iman's death, by Skull and Umaga's death, by all the yelling I've been doing, all that shit. Just like so much of it. And so I go to bed. Like, I go to bed after this. A bunch of other shit happens, like, while I'm asleep. But I go to bed, and like, there's some torture of a Haldorite that, like, stole a spirit from our house. Before I go to bed, I exercise a fucking house with a ghost in it, and get a favor from Orion, which is nice. Me and Orion are friends now. Not that we weren't friends before. And then I go to bed. I think that's pretty much the process. There's some torturing of a Haldorite that was stealing a spirit from our house, and her punishment and so forth. And yeah, there's like a bunch of other shit, right? That goes on. While I'm asleep, and a couple of times I'm like roused from my unconscious state to like say something to somebody, and then that's it, right? Oh, something I did forget to mention about Saturday was apparently Thalan, the Darkweaver of Leandra being the goddess of elves. Apparently Thalan heard that I was very angry that Skull and Umaga died. I mean Skull specifically because he's an elf. And Thalan came up to me and was like, "I hear you. Are you all right?" And I went, "I'm fine. I'm just gonna deal." This was just before the Idris thing. "I'm fine. I just need to deal with some things, and then everything will be fine." And I thought he was talking about the fact that I was decaying, but he wasn't. He's like, "I hear you were pretty angry earlier," and I went, "Oh, that. Yes, it's fine." And he says, "So, who are we killing in retribution? Name someone." I'm like, "Oh shit! Oh shit! Okay, wasn't expecting that. We're not exactly friends, but all right." And so I'm like, "Well, Adeline was slow with the life scroll," and he goes, "Can't do Adeline. Obvious reasons. Elf. Can't kill her. I'm like, and I know, and that's my own problem. So let's see, who else? Dane was responsible for the incursion. Dane was responsible for taking us to that place with the undead, and Dane was not present on the front lines as far as I could see. It was an incompetent direction. And Thalan goes, "Dane, all right, you want to make it a race? See who can get him first. Just make it fun." And I was like, "I might have a different plan. I'll get back to you." But we never had another conversation, sort of thing. But anyway, Friday night, slept. Then Saturday morning, then Sunday morning, got up, did a bunch of regular, like, holy shit, just, like, decompress a little bit kind of stuff. And then we went on another mission to hell. This one, like, we had accomplished so many goals at this point, like, tribe-wise, that I didn't even know what we were doing with this other mission. But we went on another mission to, like, the Shadow Plane or some shit, to destroy some cannon or whatever. And there's a big demon in there, and we fought that demon, and it was super hard and super difficult, and fucking shadows are killing everybody, and it was rough. It was a rough fight. It was very dangerous. It seems like a lot of things are very dangerous at the moment. The difficulty has ramped up, which I like because the players have also gotten stronger, right? But the real kicker is the outcome of this fight. So 2 people also went through the Resurrection Circle in this fight. One of them is Adeline, which, that's not unusual for her. She's died about 11 times. But the other one was Dane. Dane, who finaled. His character died forever in that mod. Am I a prophet or what? Right? Dane finaled. And when we heard that news, I looked over, because Thalan was nearby when we heard that news. I looked over at Thalan, and both of us were like, okay. like, sure. Yeah. So, race over, I guess. And that was kind of the game. We did so much So much stuff. There was so much Gen Bespin stuff going on. I didn't even scratch the surface on some of it because, like, it's not really my story to tell. You know, it's like other people's stories. Um, but my game was like, Amon became a wild elf. I got out of the soul gem. Like, those two things alone, I thought it would take at least like a game each. You know, but no, we fucking blitzed it. We did so well. And it was a great game. It was a great game, but I was exhausted because of the yelling and the emotions and the feel. Like, I had so many feelings about this game, you know. There was just like a lot going on there. Yeah, I think that's it. So I'll cut the VOD there, and then I'll talk with chat for a bit. Later, VOD people.